Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities such as new companies and potential business partners and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GridNet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Women in Motorsports. Joe Samaniego here, along with Daniel Zeri from Racers, the girls behind the helmet. Big shout out to our Patreon subscribers calling the show, Mark and Robin, for keeping us on the air. You too can invest in the Grid Network through Patreon or our Buy Me a Coffee page. Daniel, one of the big things we heard today, this morning, in fact, F1 Academy. We've been hearing the rumors, another series equivalent to the W Series, 21 races, F4 chassis. What else do we know about this new series coming up?
Hello, Joe, and hi, everyone. Good morning, everyone following us from the US, and good afternoon from everyone on the other side of the Atlantic. As you mentioned, there was quite a big news. We have been waiting for this launch for quite some time now, since we've heard the rumors and since W Series halted its season like two months ago, approximately. What is this new F1 Academy? So let's bring it down to some points. It claims not to be in direct competition with W Series, first of all, as it actually aims to be a stepping stone to the Formula 3 levels, so W Series and FIA Formula 3, and then Formula 2. So they position themselves at Formula 4 level, which kind of makes sense because most of the drivers, we've seen also W Series trying to lower their age group last year, which didn't work out perfectly because the drivers that they were trying to scout, they were not massively experienced yet for a Formula 3 regional car. So this new championship will position itself at Formula 4 level. It will use, as you mentioned, Joe, the Tatu's Formula 4 car that is currently used in the Italian Formula 4, in the German Formula 4, in the British, in the Brazilian, and the UAE also championships. Then, of course, it will be targeted to drivers much younger than the W Series was initially targeted to. So drivers just out of karting and at Formula 4 level. We understand that there will be 15 cars on track, run by 5 teams. Teams are not official yet, but we hear that they are some pretty good, important teams that are currently also running Formula 2 and Formula 3 operations. So 3 cars per team. And one of the most important features, while W Series was free to enter, so they hosted the selections before the championships, and the top drivers were invited free of charge to race in their Formula 2 regional cars. This new championship will have a much more traditional approach to motor racing. So the teams will have to cover their expenses. So half of the budgets will be provided by by F1, by Liberty Media itself, while the other 50% of the budget will be required to be covered by the drivers themselves. So we hear that the budgets for this season will be at 300,000 euros. So 150,000 euros covered by F1 and another 150,000 euros covered by the drivers. So these are the main differences. While also one of the most important things that we are hearing is track time. So the W Series, we know that the track time was not great, especially since they entered the F1 support bill, because of course there was not much time on that program, and also they had to keep the budget low. So we are hearing here that there will be 7 rounds, triple headers, so 3 races per weekend, like some of the Formula 4 championships are currently doing, for example. So a 21 race calendar. The calendar is not out yet, but we are hearing that out of the 7 rounds, only 1 will be together with Formula 1, while the others will not be on the same weekend of Formula 1. So also, I assume that is to keep the budget low, because of course 300,000 euros is not much compared to some of the other championships, like the top ones, like the Italian and the German Formula 4 championships. These are the main features of the series that has been announced 1 hour ago. Of course, I would say that there are the positives and the negative sides. The positive ones definitely is the track time. Because 21 race plus 15 testing days, also that's a big plus from this announcement. Is definitely good, because of course what we know is that what we've also observed through the years is that female drivers they need the track time. They are lacking the track time compared to the top drivers that are racing in the top top championships and teams. So when they do get into a championship, they were lacking track time, and so they were basically less experience. So this is a step in the good direction regarding to track time. Also, the thing that they are positioning themselves at Formula 4 level is good, because I think that was the correct positioning. While W Series tried, well, it kind of made sense, because the Formula 3 was the glass ceiling, but there were not enough drivers ready yet for that kind of level. Obviously, the disadvantage or the what I think is a step not forward in this new one series promoted by F1 is obviously the budget, because W Series was free to enter, while here I would say it is still good that F1 are providing half of the budget, but still it will be not free as W Series. So I think it's a kind of a good step, but of course it has its positive and its negatives.
As you mentioned, the positives, the track time, that direct tie and support from F1. The negatives, there's that budget aspect. We know motorsports is not one of the cheapest forms of any sport. So 150,000, that's something else. Now, of course, W Series, they released a statement as well, in which Catherine said, W Series created the first platform for women in motorsports, which has inspired young girls all around the world since our inaugural season. And overall, in 2019, it was fantastic to see the grow as a result of pioneer work. W Series welcome any initiative, which includes our ambitions to provide more opportunities for women in motorsports. Our objective from start has always been to increase the talent pool of women racing in other series, and the addition of F1 Academy as a feeder to W Series and other series is a first step in inspiring the next generation to progress up the motorsports ladder. We are looking forward to finalizing the W Series plan for 2023 and beyond, providing excellent racing and entertainment to our fans around the world. Then she continues on with the mission of the W Series, which is essentially the pinnacle of women motorsports, and doing so continue to spread out the message further and wider. Daniel, it seems overall, as you have hinted, as they have said too, This new series will be a feeder step towards the W Series. So when it comes to the F1 Academy and then a driver does well goes to W Series, is this something where we're going to see then possibly more drivers from F1 Academy make that step to W Series and then up? Or do you think it's going to be a mix where we're going to see drivers still going to W Series rather than F1 Academy and just a big, essentially mix up of drivers, more drivers choosing different routes?
That's a very good question and an important one. I would say that drivers with some budget will definitely try to get into the F1 Academy at Formula 4 level. There are not a lot right now, let's say, racing in Formula 4s around the world. So 15, it's kind of a goal they want to achieve, maybe trying to get some drivers that are currently going to graduate from karting. But obviously, I would say a lot depends on what W Series can now do, because of course they know that right now they're still on hold as they try to put together the funding for next year and the years afterwards. So a lot depends on what changes also they will do to their business approach and to their format. So that is, I think, an important point to stress out right now. I think that if this series succeeds in getting some drivers some good track time, to provide some drivers with the good track time at a reasonable budget, it's going to be interesting if they decide then to go towards W Series, if W Series will still continue to be free to enter, or if they will continue to a more traditional route like Formula Regional European Championship or and then FIA Formula 3, for example. So this is going to be interesting. Also, one more point that I wanted to add is that obviously W Series was running 18 cars centrally, so all the drivers had the same equipment. Now this is kind of not the case here, because five teams. We all know that the teams receive the same equipment, the same cars. They are all will be the Tatus Formula 4 chassis that with the halo that made its debut in 2022 with Autotecnica engine and with Pirelli tires. So of course it's going to be a one-make series, but teams are a huge difference. You know, we've seen this in Formula 3 and in Formula 2, for example, also in IndyCar, which is kind of the same thing. You know, you have the top teams with a lot more funding, and then teams that are not running with the same amount of budget or with the same amount of with the same organization behind. So Prema, for example, in FIA Formula 2 or Formula 3, it is kind of always at the front of the standings for a reason. So we still don't know the teams that will be racing in this F1 Academy, but that also a point that we know we have to address. If the drivers will all have the same opportunities, let's say. But your question was very important, because we have to understand what the drivers that are maybe graduating from this F1 Academy, if they will try to get into W Series, if it will still be on the F1 support bill and free up to enter, or if they will go straight into the mixed series. That is ultimately the goal if they want to reach Formula 1 level. But also W Series, let me say that in their other point that it was also right now or until last year a good opportunity for drivers that maybe do not have F1 as their ultimate goal. We've seen some drivers that were probably not on the F1 age target, but they had some good track time and some good a good platform, and they will try to market themselves out of the F1 ladder, and they will try to get seat in sports car racing, for example, or in GT racing. So that was also a good platform, because of course there's not just F1. There's sometimes the fans tend to be a little bit tunnel visioned on F1, but there's the whole world of important motor racing outside of F1. So W Series was also kind of a good platform for that. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the things evolved and if W Series can get back on track next year.
That's, of course, one of the big stories. We're still following the W Series, trying to come back on track for 2023 after what happened with essentially sounds like a sponsorship deal, missed payment, put the W Series in a position where they had to end the season a few races earlier than planned. With this news, we are assuming, there's going to be sponsors who are going to be excited about F1 Academy. Do you think some of those sponsors will be excited that, they're a feeder step to the W Series? Let's look into getting into the W Series, especially since I almost see this as sort of like when you have, for example, in the United States, NASCAR. That's sort of the goal of a lot of American stock car drivers. But to get to NASCAR, you have drivers that'll start in ARCA, skip the trucks, or go to the trucks, skip ARCA. I almost feel like you got that little bit of an aspect. You can have a female driver do both of these series, skip one of these series. Overall, do you think this could just be, like Catherine said, a big win? Because now we're going to have more female racers featured by F1, whether it's the W Series or the F1 Academy.
Yeah, also that's a very good point. I mean, the end goal is always to get more female racers in motor racing. So that's also the end goal, and that's also part of the statement that Catherine Beaumure put out, the W Series CEO, of course, after the news of the launch of the F1 Academy. So that she also said that we have to keep in mind that the end goal is always to get more female drivers into the echelons of motor racing. So if this succeeds to bring more drivers into W Series or into other champions, skipping maybe some others, or maybe skipping W Series and going straight to another, that's a different point. But I think the end goal is to get one day more female drivers, hopefully sooner than later, more female drivers at top championships, because once you get those role models, the base of the pyramid will grow by itself, and we will have more female drivers in karting, and then in Formula 4, and then up the pyramid. So that's the end goal. And so the paths are many, and if we get more opportunities, it's always good. And this is going to be another important opportunity. If they claim to be not in direct competition, that's even better, because if we can get two series going for the same goal, it's even better, and not competing with each other, it's even better. But yeah, it's all very much in development, so we will have to see how things evolve.
And of course, as things evolve, we'll be following it right here on the Grid Network. Be sure to subscribe, like us right here on YouTube, and follow us on all social media platforms. We're on various social media platforms as well. Now, one of the big stories that occurred this past weekend as well, too, over here in the United States, was the National Hot Rod Association, the final race of 2022. And we all knew that coming into the race weekend, Erica Enders was going to be a 5-time champion. She wrapped that up in Nevada. The big story had to be Top Fuel, who was going to claim that championship. And at the end, when Anton Brown got to win in the second round, Brittany Force became a 2-time NHRA Top Fuel Champion. And you got to say, this has to be one of the best comebacks when it comes to motorsports. She was leading the regular season standings before the NHRA Countdown started. During the countdown, their version of the playoffs fell behind. She was down to 82 points behind the leader. Now, for folks not familiar with the point structure, the winner gets 100 points, and then essentially 20-point increments back. So she was so far back when you look at it, 82 points. She needed to have some luck. Well, it turned out she got to the point where she was, next thing you know, was a 7-point lead entering this last race weekend and took the championship. Great effort by Brittany Force. Of course, she is the daughter of multiple-time champion in funny car, John Force. Now Brittany Force, a 2-time champion in Top Fuel. Very excited to see what she has done this year. lot of folks praising her performance this year, especially coming back from behind an 82-point gap, which all built up in the last few races during this NHRA Countdown, and to get the win. Overall, huge effort by that team, because we're going to be following NHRA off-season for any off-season news, because Camry Camaro, she got Rookie of the Year from Pro Stock, so another female racer accomplishing more in the National Hot Rod Association drag racing series. And Daniel, when it comes to Formula One, I know we've been talking about Academy, their ladder system. The last race weekend, WEC, the sports car, that ladder system is turned into something else, and especially when you have female drivers there, including the Iron Dames, making a lot of news.
Sorry about that. As you mentioned, the sports car racing, we are probably entering another golden era for endurance racing, with a lot of manufacturers now getting into the FIA WEC. Last week we just rounded out the 2022 season with the 8 Hour of Bahrain. As you mentioned, the Iron Dames have been really making history this year. It has been a groundbreaking season for the all-female team. They just obviously announced a new partnership, a manufacturer partnership with Lamborghini for next year. So their plans are evolving, and now we are learning more and more about the next season. But they had one more race for this year, and the last one for with the Ferrari. So it was very interesting to see what they could do at the 8 Hours of Bahrain, and they put it on pole again. Sarah Bobby has been impressive this year. She's been one of the most extraordinary drivers in single lap in qualifying. She set another pole position, which was the second one for Iron Dames in WEC. And then they led most of the race, like 7 hours of the race. Unfortunately, the pace towards the in the final hour wasn't quite there to beat the Porsche, which were really fast. But really strong race from Sarah Bobby, who had a massive stint. 2 stints actually, and Michelle Gatting and Rahel Fry, really good race for all of them. It wasn't quite enough to get the first win in WEC, but they scored another podium, which was the 3rd podium in a row for WC for Iron Dames in WEC. And they rounded out the season with 3rd place in the standings, which was quite the target before the event. So they succeeded in finishing 3rd, and interestingly, they finished 3rd in every championship that they entered this year. So GT World Challenge, European Le Mans Series, and FIA WEC. So that was quite a good achievement again for Iron Dames. But then, as we mentioned, after the race, there was another equally important event. It was the WEC rookie test. This is a very important opportunity for young drivers, because the WEC organization selects some of the drivers that have been more impressive through the year, and also maybe some rookies that were not racing the championship. And they invite them to test the championship winning cars. So that's a very good opportunity for them for at least 30 laps. So that's the deal. And we had 2 female drivers this year. So Dorian Pan, the Iron Dame, that she has been remarkably dominant in the Ferrari Challenge European Championship. She won the season. She was 3rd in the World Championship in Ferrari Challenge. She was part of the team that won in class at the 24-hour Spa, and then also was part of the trio that won the final race of the European Le Mans Series at Portimao. So really remarkable season for Dorian Pan, and one more day to close in a good way the season for Dorian. 18-year-old French woman then stepped into the championship-winning LMP2 car from Jota Sports. She did very well, actually. She was 1.2 seconds from the very top of the standings in class after the afternoon session at Bahrain International Circuit. So very good opportunity for Dorian, but also making more history. was Lilou Wadou, the French driver, 21-year-old from Amiens. She has been racing in WEC this year. It was a rookie season in LMP2 with Richard Mille Racing Team. She was really also impressive this year because she was coming from the Alpine Europa Cup, which is a GT4 based championship mainly designed to get some experience in GT racing. So stepping from that straight into a LMP2 prototype, that was a big step for Lilou. But really, she was great all season. Was straight in the top 10. Was sixth at her first time in the 24-hour Le Mans, which was also her first time in the 24-hour race. Finished. She was really close to her first top 5 in Monza. Unfortunately, there was an accident, not her fault. She was spun out in Monza. Then again, also in Bahrain, where they were really running well again, but they still had a very good recovery drive and finished 8th. So another top 10 for Lilou Wadou at the season finale. And she became the first driver to drive a hypercar. So she had the opportunity, thanks to the rookie test, to drive the championship-winning Toyota hypercar. That was a huge opportunity for Lilou, and I'm hearing that everyone at Toyota was really impressed by her pace. She was 5th fastest in the morning session. Really close to Sebastian Buemi, for example. So I mean, that was impressive. First time that she was from a LMP2 car straight into a hypercar. And we had a quick interview with Lilou in the days straight after her test, and she told us that the most interesting things to learn from her was, of course, managing the hybrid process. So the hypercar is really fast on the straight, as you can imagine. But she told us that the car is quite heavier in the corners. So that was something that she was learning to manage the weight of the car in the corners. And the cornering speed are not too far away from what she was used to in LMP2. So she was quite fast on pace in a hypercar, in the Toyota hypercar. So that was really good to see. And this is also another step in the right direction for female drivers, that they are really proving that they can be competitive at a very top level of sports car racing, which we've seen them trying, to make progress in the single-seater ladder. But we also don't have to forget that they're having some quite good progression and good achievements in sports car and endurance racing.
Quite a lot happening in the endurance racing world, and overall great opportunity with that rookie test. Overall, Daniel, I know we're coming down towards the end of 2022. As you mentioned, testing for already 2023 underway. What are some of the races you're still going to be following this race weekend?
Yes, of course, we are coming towards the end of most of the championship, but still there's some good racing going on this weekend. Of course, we have the season finale of the Formula One Championship at Abu Dhabi. And together with Formula One, we have 2 support series that feature some female drivers. So in Formula 2, we have Tatiana Calderon. She's coming back to the series after her injury. She injured her hand in Monza. Luckily, there was a big gap in the calendar, so she had all the time to recover. And now she's back in the car, in the Charu racing car in Formula 2 this weekend for the final round of the season. But also we have the non-championship race, the Formula 4 Trophy, which is quite a cool event to round out the Formula 4 global season, as many drivers are going to the UAE for this race, a specific race which is not part of the Formula 4 UAE Championship, which is starting soon. But it's a non-championship race, but it's cool because, of course, it's together with Formula One, and they're gathering in Abu Dhabi for this race. And we have Victoria Blocchina, who has been racing in the Italian Formula 4 this year. Also, last weekend she was in Barcelona for the final round of the Spanish Formula 4 championship. So She's racing this weekend in Abu Dhabi, and this morning they had the first practice session, and she was 5th fastest. So pretty good start of the weekend for the young Victoria Blokina. Qualifying should start really soon in Abu Dhabi. But also we have another interesting championship, which is the Indian Racing League. It is starting this weekend, so it's quite brand new championship. It's kind of a new format as well, because there are 6 teams, and all of them are based from or let's say that is inspired by one of the major Indian city. So this is because, of course, there's not much of an Indian tradition in motorsport, so they're trying really to get the Indian fans into motor racing, and by helping them root for their own community, for their own city, would be probably a good idea to get them into the sport. And so 6 teams based on 6 Indian cities, 2 cars each team, and interestingly, even though there are single seaters, which the cars are run by Italian manufacturer Wolf Racing. They are also, of course, the manufacturer that builds these cars, the Wolf Thunder car, which is also raced in the Italian Sports Prototype Championship, which is quite a good championship. And the grids are usually quite packed, so it would be a quite a reliable car. And the Italian manufacturer is there locally in India to run the car, so that's good, because of course they will have some good engineering from their side. As I was mentioning, it's particularly interesting for us because each of the team will have to line up a female racer. So we will have 6 female drivers on the grid this weekend for the first round at the Hyderabad street circuit, which also is interesting because this street circuit will be used next year in Formula E. So it is kind of a test for this street circuit. But the 6 drivers that will be on track will be Celia Martin, quite an experienced GT racer. She's French, but she's based in Germany. She was also part of the team, the all-female team that won in class last year at the 24-hour of the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Then we also have Gabriela Jilkova. She's also a very experienced GT4 driver that she is coming back to single seaters after quite some time. Also, we have Lola Lovin-Foss, Formula 4 driver. This year, she contested the first part of the Spanish Formula 4 Championship. Very young, she's 15 years of age. Then we have Bianca Bustamante, the Filipino driver that was a rookie in W Series this year. Also, we have another W Series racer, that's Fabian Volvend, was kind of drafted in very late. She was contacted last Monday, and then she had to get a visa, and then went straight to India. Luckily, she made it. I think she arrived yesterday, because she texted us that she was on the plane yesterday when she received her visa. And then we also have Canadian driver Nicole Harda. She was also part of the W Series selections at the beginning of this year. She kind of had some testing in Formula 4 and then some races in the regional Formula 3 in the US. So quite an interesting lineup of drivers going there in India. We also know that Aurelia Nobels, for example, was initially announced. Obviously, the driver that was part of the Ferrari Driver Academy selections together with the FIA Girls on Track program. But she ultimately couldn't get the visa in time for India, so she was replaced by Fabian Volvend. Interesting, because of course each team will have an international male driver, an international female driver, and 2 local drivers. So it also makes sense, because if you want to kind of develop the local racers community. So it's going to be interesting to follow. We will try to to follow this new championship and the reports on it next week.
And of course, you can follow all of it on the website of Racers Behind the Helmet. As Daniel mentioned, the race is coming up this weekend, and of course, on the main page, all the latest results, news, and stories from Daniel. The latest, the F1 Academy launch, which was just hours ago. So a lot going on. And I encourage everyone, once again, racersbehindthehelmet.com. And then I know the big news, of course, with the F1 Academy being announced. Overall, we're going to be following the story. I think it's going to be really exciting to see how it all shapes up. And W Series potentially, if the W Series has about 18 and then you got 15 drivers, that is a lot of female drivers on such a big stage. And I think that's something that everyone could agree will be huge if we could see both series next year. And we thank everyone for tuning in to our show today. From Daniel Zerrier, High Racers, the girls behind the helmet, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time and enjoy the races.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GridNet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com.